Recording started automatically, as you may have noticed. I am going to turn on, it's already turned on, I've turned it on automatically, the Gemini notes, which we'll also share with you. Because you remember you used to get a transcript and the notes separately, you get them together now. There's 2 tabs in the same document, which is really neat because if anything specific gets mentioned, it timestamps it. And you click on that and it goes to the transcript part in the video, in the text, which is really rather nice. It's a nice little bit of functionality that was, I think it was not last month or the month before, but recently. I can't remember exactly when. So not a huge number, a reasonable number, but a huge number. So updates to Notebook LM. Notebook LM, of course, is the free version. LM Plus is the paid for version. So you do get slightly different things in it. But you've got a really nice additional button now, which is Discover. In effect, it's basically like a Gemini prompt inside it. So you add in all the documents as you would normally add in, your curriculum documents, if you're doing a check on, what you've got covered in a particular unit of work, and then you can go and discover and then just do a standard Gemini prompt, and it will go and find all the stuff that it thinks might be relevant to the particular topic that you're working on at the moment. So that I really like that as a nice thing as an educator, to be able to say, well, here's all the resources I know, but can I find any more that might be useful while I'm doing this? That is really handy for you, I think. 18 plus only, which is a shame, but I suspect some of you are probably lying about the AU or A-level students, so they could use that because it'd be really good for them, wouldn't it, as well? I think it'd be a great additional resource for some of your older students. So that's and multimodal PDFs. So all the bits that you get in a PDF that in the past you couldn't read, now you can. All the functionality in the PDF, and that is really good because PDFs are so ubiquitous, aren't they? Everyone uses them, so to not be able to fully access all the bits inside it isn't brilliant, but it is now. So you've got all those. I think I've announced this before. I just think they keep changing the situation of which bits precisely are. So I went back and checked what I announced, and it was announced that Notebook LM and Gemini app was covered under the standard Workspace education terms of service, which gives you a high level of protection, which is really important, of course, isn't it, when you're putting all sorts of data in there. Yeah, but you also means you receive technical support for those as well, and for those core services like docs and so on and so forth. Okay. But it's now Gemini app is a core service for all education customers, as if that's a change. I didn't think that it was, but apparently it was. Same with Notebook LM. Notebook LM previous version we've talked about, core services. They're all people that have got the Education Plus licenses. So if you've got Education Plus or Education, I can't say it, Gemini Education or Gemini Education Premium, then you get Notebook LM Plus as part of that license. So you will get the additional extra bits, which means you've got more searches, you've got the analytics, you have to share it, you get the interactive mode in the audio option of it. Right at the very end, I'll cover. I've done some things with Notebook LM with all the updates for this month because I thought it'd be interesting to give you other ways to access all this information. And so I've had a little go at doing that, and I'll show you that at the end. So on Android now, you've got the option to do an email signature. If you don't put an email signature in when you see the prompt in the little image, Chris, did you notice that in the image that I don't apparently put in my slide decks? Then it just uses your standard Google signature, sticks that in there, that you get at the bottom of your emails. But you can actually now have another signature in there should you want to. I haven't had to try with it. It wasn't available when I checked last week. I didn't check this morning, sorry. But I think that could be quite nice. They seem to be doing a lot of work on the mobile recently. I think it's almost as if it's suddenly dawned on them. Oh, minute. Most people go to the mobiles, the default now, before they go to the main device. I do such a lot on my mobile that I never used to do in the past. So I think they're working hard. And the iOS feature rolling out, so it's complete on iOS and it's rolling out to Android. But with all these things, don't forget they're April, so you may well already have them. And the rollout, they say 15 days. I know I say this every time, but just to remind you, it makes it sound like it's just over 2 weeks. I think they mean 15 working days because my experience is that it tends to take a bit longer than 2 weeks. And some people wait a lot longer than that. But let's go. There's a whole lot of language updates as there were last month. They're clearly really on a roll with this. Okay, so you've got help me write, the little AI button that pops up in your Gmail. You can now use it in Japanese or Korean. Preview summaries in Google Chat. Now you got it in those languages. and Google Docs help me write in 4 additional languages. But of course, those rely on you having one of the Gemini licenses attached to your account. And I've put all the updates together now, so they're all in one place. Same here, but you can reference your calendar using Gemini in the side panel of your Gmail. You've got options to add in, I think it's 20 something additional languages there that you can now use. So if you've got someone where English is not their first language and they want to opt to use a different language, then they can do that now. So that's there for them, which is good. I'm just flying through the language updates. These are, if they apply to you, then they apply to you, but generally speaking, they're probably not going to. And 7 new languages for Google Classroom. Okay. It'll be interesting when you're able to flip or be able to automatically recognize. So if you have got a language student that is in Google Classroom, gets the option to automatically get it translated. That's the big one, I think. The fact that the languages exist is good. Of course it is. But actually the fact that you have to keep flipping between them currently, I think is not the ideal. So if you've got, a language learner that's new to the country, they need that option to be able to automatically translate as a default, popping up on the screen to make their life that much simpler, I think. And hopefully it might well come, who knows. But we should start a feature request campaign and see if we can get it done. There we go. So this is really exciting for me. I think I've spoken about read along before, and I know looking at the people on the screen, a lot of people tend looking at mostly older students, not all. Dave's got some younger students in his maps and things. Read along, I think, is a great tool. It's basically a reading scheme, and I know if you've got a primary school under your remit, they're not likely to change their reading scheme. Of course they're not. They've done lots of research, find one that really suits them, and they'll be doing great work with it, I'm sure of it. But as an additional tool to allow students to read in a different way, this seems to me a really good thing. I am almost certain that there'll be some students who would prefer to read on screen rather than have a book. Yeah, and with your own group of friends, some people couldn't imagine ever having an electronic book, others couldn't live without them. Yeah, so it is, it seems to be one of those Marmite things, isn't it? So giving the student a preferred way in, I think, is really good. And the fact that you can now go in there and specify what you want them to read. So I just want to quickly show this as an example, if that's okay. So this is read along, okay? And what I did is I went into Gemini and I said, I want a piece of text for a student with a Lexile reading age of 1,000. I think that's about a 10, 11-year-old. Yeah, about a 10, 11-year-old. Average student, of course, not all students. On limestone escarpments. That's like more or less all the prompt that I gave them. So again, they go to start. Hopefully you'll be able to see this. Let me just move you on out of the way. Yeah, and you just show you the language level. Yeah, now I can now start. An imposing limestone escarpment stands as a testament to millennia of geological processes. So as you go through, I'm going to stop that now and go back to the other one, just to see that you can see it going blue. It's stopped now. You can't hear it, but I will shortly. She's now talking to me, offering help, trying to prompt me to the next bit, and so on and so forth. So they get support, which is really, really handy, I think. Share this tab instead. So it's a great tool that your educators can now use all their wisdom to say, well, actually, no, the 1,000+ books that are in there don't quite hit it for the students, because I want them to practice their reading about a theme I'm doing this term, for example. So it could be about anything. So the fact that you can put them in there and then assign them to that class, that seems to me a really, really handy thing. I've copied this table, and I did this last time there was a big read-along update, because they use Lexile scale, and we don't tend to use those in the UK so much. Someone might tell me that we do now, that we didn't used to. So I've just done a very rough approximation of Lexile range and approximate age to give you an idea of what they're like. So that's in the slide deck when you get it. And the Lexile range mirrors the Lexile range you've got in read along currently. It goes up to about 13,000 Lexiles. So it's about a 14, 15-year-old. So you're right at up to the GCSE age, aren't you? So it's a good range of things. There aren't a huge number in read along at the higher range. I think if you filter out to the 1,300+, I think there's only about 20 odd books, but it'll continue to increase and improve. But the fact that you can put your own in now, that seemed to me a really useful additional other thing. Chris, you got a question?
Yeah, just a comment as much as anything, Paul. you've always said that you love read along, but it's very sort of American and its content that might not be sort of suitable for UK schools and whatnot. So I guess this is a way of getting around that by putting your own content in there that's more suitable to your students' needs. Yeah.
And it sounded like a question, but because I suddenly was clicking to change my slide deck, the sound turned off, so I didn't actually.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry, Chris.
He ignores me, Dave. Well, you know, as soon as you're running these meetings, Dave, the better. I'll keep you on the fly on that. No, I was just saying that you've always said that, like, the books that are in there, very sort of American based and whatnot. There's not really content that might be suitable for UK or European schools, and this gives you the option then to put your own content in there, which is going to be much more relevant to your particular student. So I think it's a really important update.
No, exactly that. Yeah, Dave?
I think the other thing that it opens up is the use of this technology in modern foreign language departments. So, you know, the combination of the different languages, the ability to upload relevant text, and just give students the opportunity to practice their pronunciation. For me, that's where I see this being used more than within, certainly at high school, within the English department. It may not get that much use. You know, if you've got a one-to-one scheme with the technology, that always opens up a lot more, I know. But yeah, for me, I think the excitement of how we can use this with MFL is really intriguing.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, Jason, I think you're right. Yeah, ESOL students as well. You talk to any ESOL department, they'll tell you how hard it is to find relevant texts for their adult language learners. So the fact that you can actually, you know, the teacher, if they wanted to, could write their own, that would be really good, you know. And I don't know if you remember when Gemini was first launched many years ago now, it seems, and one of the first examples that Google published was of someone using it to create a creative story. But to create a story relevant to the topics you're doing with your language learners, you know, at their age level, you know, fine. The one thing it can't do, which is worth mentioning, is it doesn't currently allow you to add images. So, you know, if you're looking at young learners, you know, they like the distraction of an image every so often, don't they? Because it allows them to refocus and then carry on reading. So adults won't worry about that quite so much, but younger readers might. So just to be aware. But yeah, so if you haven't got the sense of it, I think read along is great. And don't forget, it's built into Google Classroom, so you can assign them through Google Classroom. You get analytics back about their reading age and their fluency and their understanding and things. So it's a really good additional tool to the reading scheme that you've got, if you've got one in your primary school. So you can save time now with updates on the voiceovers in Google Vids. Okay, they announced the voiceovers in March. If you make changes to the video, it will update your voiceovers. So if you crop a piece of video, it will then crop the voiceover to match it. Yeah. If you're importing voices into it, it doesn't do those bits, but the bits it's generated itself will actually crop them so that they actually match the new length of the new bit of the video clip that you put in there. Yeah. If you can I just show of hands, how many people have already had play with Google Vids? I know Jamie has. Jamie loves it. Yeah, Gaz has. What are your thoughts, Gaz? Do you like it? Ate has too.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. I've made a few things with it, and it's easy. I'm not a video producer, and I've actually created a gem that's my Google Vids producer. So if I have an idea for a Google vid, I bang it into my gem, and then that tells me how to make the vid, and then it just streamlines everything.
Oh wow. It's that iteration around and around, so you get to what you want. Excellent. That's a brilliant idea. Thanks for that. Good. So yeah, so lots of people have to go. It's a great additional thing. Okay. Gemini Deep Research now available 2.5. And the link is to last month's updates, because Gaz gave a brilliant overview of Deep Research. So if you haven't actually seen that yet, then do go back and have a look at that. I should have put it on the timestamp. I don't remember what the timestamp was, but you should have watched it all anyway. If you haven't, it's in there. I'm sure you'll find it. But that's definitely the thing to use. Yeah. If you're not aware of Deep Research is, Gaz, do you want to give a kind of 30 second summary of Deep Research to people that all know?
No, thanks. Yeah, of course I will.
That's actually not Gaz, it's an AI Generated image of Gaz.
It's not me today. Deep research, it is just a powerful way of getting information from Gemini. So if you're just using the standard Flash 2.0 or 2.5, whatever model we're on today, it's whatever lunar cycle Google put it in, instead of it just giving you a very quick response, it goes off and it tells you what it's going to do before it does it. And you get to interrogate deep research and say, actually, I don't want you to go and research this part, or I want you to zone in on this part, and you can change your prompt, and then it'll go off and run. And sometimes it can take 14, 15 minutes because it's going off and it's showing you every research bit that it's read. And then it'll say, right, I've read something here, so now I'm going to go off over here and look. And at the end, it just gives you a really great report, which you can export to docs, and bish, bash, bosh, you've got your master's or your PhD done.
Brilliant. Yeah, maybe I will do a PhD. Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Gaz. That's brilliant. It gives people a sense of it. Okay. So Gemini's been in Google Classroom for a little while now. There's been a whole load of extra new tools. You can now generate questions in there, which you can export into a Google form or into a doc or whatever it is that you want. So you can actually generate things very much quicker than they ever used to be able to. The text for this update was really complicated, and I'm sitting there reading it thinking, oh, there's so many words here. So in the end, I highlighted it all, stuck it in Gemini, and said, Gemini, can you summarize this into 4 or 5 short bullet points to give me a flavor of what this is all about? And that's why there's a Gemini icon just above the bullet points there. That's what I did. That's not me. That's Gemini saying, yeah, if you want to summarize that, here's a useful summary. Yeah. And it really is, as you select the source, and it can be in your drive, or you can manually input a block of text, do whatever you like. Choose what skills you want the students or the person filling out the quiz to demonstrate. Generates the questions. Yeah. Gives you all that you need, and then you can decide where you want to put it, whether you want it in a docs, quiz type, questionnaire, or you want it in a Google form. So it's a great additional tool. But again, Education Premium, Education, Gemini Education, Gemini Education Premium.
Got Gaz with his hand raised, I think. Do you want to
go for it, Gaz?
Yeah, that's great. But do you know, is it going to go into practice sets as well? Because that would be pretty funky.
It would. I mean, you can convert forms to practice sets, can't you? Now,
if you convert, it's convert to convert back. I didn't know if it was.
No.
Potentially going to slot in alongside it.
Yeah, I don't know. I've not heard anything about that. And if you do convert from a form to a practice set, if you've got a multi-page form, it doesn't know what to do with the multiple sections. So it just puts all the section headings at the bottom as text fields. So it can't cope with you can't do multi-page practice sets currently. So it's not ideal, but yeah. I've heard nothing currently. But yeah, just watch this space. Okay. Did I mention I really like Read Along? It's this new tool Google have introduced. It's great. You've now got silent reading mode. Primary schools do this a lot. It might only be, early reads might just be 5 or 10 minutes. It's a great thing to do, just to allow students to stop and concentrate on a little bit of reading just for 5-10 minutes without anyone judging them. They all just sit there in silence. It's good for their mental health just to be sat in silence, even for a start. But it's a really, really useful tool. So you can now do that in Google Classroom Read Along. Okay, so that's great. If they highlight a word, it'll still tell them what the word is. So if they need help, they can still get that help. It just allows them to access the reading materials in a slightly different way. I mentioned a minute ago about the read along, about the insights that you get. Because it's silent reading this time, you get comprehension insights about what it thinks they've understood based on speed with which they've read it, but that's all you get. You don't get the level of accuracy because they've not recorded them and they haven't heard them. You don't get the words per minute, and you don't get all the phonics insights that you do get. The thing that it's not announced this month, but if there's people thinking about using it, don't forget, once you've got some data, Read Along will allow you to generate a custom story to help a student practice the things they're struggling with. But based on the insights that it gives you, it says, well, this student's not very good at these things. You want to create a custom story, you say yes, and it'll make one that will allow them to practice those things. That, for me, seems amazing to be able to do that for any reading scheme, So that's really good, because the chance, your reading scheme will be a fixed set of books, but you can create one for a specific need. That's really, really good. Teaching and Learning Upgrade and Education Plus only for those particular upgrades, that particular functionality rather. So if you have been setting your own grade sets and you're creating grading labels in Google Classroom, you can now do that in bulk in Google Classroom. So if you've got a label that was complete, or I can't remember what a label might be that you would use, you can create the labels in the Google Classroom settings. Now you've been able to mark on bulk. So if it was just about the kids that all completed it, so you could highlight the whole assignment for every single kid and grade them all saying complete. So you've been able to do that for a little while. You can now actually do that with your grading labels that you create, whatever those grading labels are. And you do those inside your settings in each classroom. But if you create grading labels, don't forget, once you've created them in one classroom, if you've got multiple classes that need the same labels, you can export them to the other classes easy enough. There's an extra button to press to do that. So it just puts that whole bulk grade assigning thing. If it's just about them having completed something, then you can do that now much quicker and much easier. Okay. Another hands up. How many people do use ready-built slide templates? Yeah, I'm getting a nod from Olivia. Yeah, David Leonard, no. Not many other hands up than that. Yeah. So some people do. So it's about, I think they announced a few months ago, about 40 or 50 more kind of templates created. It's a kind of about what the job is that you need to do, isn't it? I think sometimes the content is, there's so much content on it that you spend so long adjusting the content, you might as well just start it yourself. I think we have a template. There's slide decks here, you know, to a template that we all go and import, and it's all there, so it's already sorted. But that's about the only one I use generally. I don't tend to use theirs. It's not to say that I wouldn't if there was one that was right for that particular task. It's about what the task is that you need to do, but they are there should you want them, and you can get to them easily. You can see them in the GIF, how they access them. Dave, you want to say something?
Yeah, I think it's a bit after the horse has bolted this one. The reason I didn't use the templates is that they were so basic for so long that I moved over to use Canva. And you know, I mean, this isn't a meeting about Canva, but the capabilities within Canva are so huge that to move back to this now, even with the upgraded templates, they're still not as good, and it doesn't have those additional features. So it's great that Slides has moved on. It shouldn't have taken the number of years that it did for Google to recognize that its initial offering was pretty pathetic, to be honest. And if this had have happened a couple of years ago, then maybe I wouldn't have found the need to move over to Canva. So it's still good, don't get me wrong, you know, I'm pleased that it's there, but it just feels a little bit reactive and a little bit too late.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I mean, I'll ask that question as well. How many people use Canva? Yeah, you know, it's a great tool, isn't it? Yeah, really good tool. And the AI built into it is really nice. It's a fantastic tool. So yeah. So yeah, I'm not surprised that that's the case. They are there should you want them. Okay. So we've had groups in Google Classroom for a little while now. Teaching and learning and education plus only. Really, really handy. We've been asking for it for seems like years, because it means that all your teachers can then differentiate tasks. So if you've got, you know, a challenge task or an additional support task, you can give it to just those individual groups. They've not got to, in the past, they have to individually select each kid that's going to get that particular version of the task, then go in and repeat it and do it for that one. It was all a bit of a pain, all in all. Whereas now you can do it for different groups really quickly and easily. You can now also email those groups, those subgroups that you create inside, in effect, inside each class. You can sort it by the groups when you're looking at the grades, which is nice. So the grade book will allow you to do that. And if you're in the middle of creating an assignment, you can also edit those groups. So if you suddenly think, oh no, Billy's got much better, I've moved him up a group, you can do that on the fly in the assignment rather than have to come out of there, edit the groups, and then go back in again. So that's really nice, extra little bit of information, additional functionality. Can I check how many people are using Google Groups inside Google, or no, student groups rather, inside Google Classroom? Yeah, but any differentiated tasks, these are make your life a lot easier, a little bit. Tony's a little bit, yeah, that's good. Yeah. So it's definitely worth showing your staff, because there's almost certainly some staff that would benefit from the facility to add differentiated outcomes and assignments for their students. This is just kind of a technical thing, just to be aware that it's going to start to happen. It's all about security. Of course, you've got to keep your data safe. So this is make sure it's an easier way for you to do those things. So if you're on a document that's an external document, you will get warned. And in admin, if you think you don't need that, then you can turn it off. Apparently in the admin panel, I think for the sake of a label that just highlights the fact that you've got a member of staff on an external document and alert them to the fact they ought to be a little more careful about what they do put in there, that's not a bad thing at all. So I'd be encouraging you to leave it on, I think. It's just too easy for data to leak out, isn't it, if people aren't really paying attention. So you can see where it appears right at the very top next to the name. Just alerts people that they're on a document outside their organization. Emojis have got easier to use in your emails. That's a nice little thing. Yeah, I do use emojis. I don't use them a huge amount, but they are there. It's really quite. I do use the auto reply. You know, the suggested replies. Yeah, and I find those really handy because sometimes you just need to acknowledge you've read something, don't you, and close it down. That's all the person wants. So they're really handy for those kind of things. But I don't tend to use emojis a huge amount. But they're there should you want them. Which is kind of quite nice. So 50 additional languages now in Notebook LM to generate your audio overviews. Yeah, it's not about you can have it well, you could have the same one in multiple languages, but you need to go to your settings, change the language, and then you get the option to have it in that particular language. And you can see the list there going through on the GIF. Yeah, another GIF there, Chris, that apparently I don't put into my slides. Education fundamentals, education standard, and education plus for that. I don't know why teaching and learning is missed out on that one. I don't understand, but that was what they told me. I did check the actual website as well as the email that came in with that. It said the same thing. So we've seen that a couple of times in the last few months, that for some reason teaching and learning doesn't get that a particular update. So interesting decision, but there we go. That's what they decided to do. Okay, those are the updates for the month. Okay, so this is the last page. I mentioned this right at the very beginning. I've been using Gemini to do a whole load of things, or Google's AI. So I went into Notebook LM, uploaded each of the pages of that listed all the updates for April, and then asked it to do a summary for me. So the end, you can do there's a little note in Notebook LM. Yeah, so that's what that first one is. I put it in there because I'm not sure, because whilst you can share, I couldn't remember whether you could share outside the organization. I meant to go and check, but didn't. So if you can't get access to that, I've also done a Google Doc version of the exact same thing. I've done an audio overview of all those updates that we've just been through. I did actually specifically ask it to put some of the GIFs in just to make it a bit more interesting, or insert images. And if there were any external links, to include those as well. It told me it couldn't do those. It could, like all these things, of course, it could be just the way that I phrased it that meant that it did those things. And so if I'd persevered or had more time, I might have got some of those out, but it wouldn't actually pull out those from the however many pages of updates that it was. Okay. And then you notice the Gemini AI symbol again here. And this last column is a summary by Gemini inside Google Slides of the slide deck that you've just been seeing me presenting on. And I think what was about 18, 19 updates. What's my slide number? Slide 19 I'm on there. Wrong place. I'm on slide 19 and it's given me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bullet points. So I'm not overly impressed with the summary of it. I think it's not summarized. It's thought I'll just give you a few highlights. And that's not what I asked for. The button actually gives you the option to summarize this slide deck. I use that button. So I'm not overly impressed with that because it's, like I say, it's not a summary, it's a highlights as it sees. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily agree with them. But there we go. So those are the updates for this month. Did you hear that then? My read alongs just suddenly kicked in and said a word. It must have been, I'll just close it down now. Any questions, any comments, any of those updates? You think that's great? I'm delighted that's arrived. Dave?
It's great that Notebook LM is getting 50 more languages. Is there any hope of it getting some more English voices rather than He's definitely called Chad, isn't he? The guy who presents on the audio descriptions.
100%.
Yeah, so Chad is really annoying when you've listened to him a million times. I've a feeling I may have heard something about this. I don't know if it's under NDA, but have you got any insights as to whether this is coming? Because you would have thought that now it's releasing the extra languages would be a good time to release extra voices as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think you're quite right. I've not heard anything. Has anyone else on the team heard anything?
Yeah, UVC percentage. You're right, Jason. Yeah. It's genuinely putting people off using it.
Was it really? That's interesting.
I did.
I
did
wonder
see
if they had the same reaction about the French accent.
Yeah, I did see on a roadmap that feature is coming, and Simon Fazzola, who looks after Gemini, was the guy that presented it. So I'm kind of hopeful.
Right, okay.
But typical Google, there wasn't it might be Q3, it might be Q4, it might be never. But it was. Hopefully, it's on the radar.
Yeah, it's an odd thing, isn't it? That we want. I don't mind us wanting an English accent. I just wonder whether the people would be saying the same thing if it was a French accent speaking English.
Quite possibly. And if you look at other tools that do similar things, then you tend to have, almost characters to choose from.
Yeah.
And that's the case in multiple languages as well. And certainly voices that are well aligned to listeners of certain ages as well.
Yeah.
I'm thinking I use an app called 11 Labs that kind of does a similar process. It turns text into transcript into audio, and you can select your character. In fact, you can even select famous people. So that might be worth a look for people who haven't come across it.
Yeah. Have you chosen Homer Simpson?
Unfortunately, no. I think I went for Laurence Olivier, of course, because I'm classically trained and all that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you can tell.
I'd love Zippy from Rainbow as an option. That'd be cool.
But is he zipped or not zipped? How would that work?
The option to zip them would be useful. Yes.
Yeah.
Just a bit of trivia for you. I just Googled what are the most popular accents, and the British accent is number 1. Anybody know what the second most popular is potentially? I'll let you know. It's actually the Irish accent. So, and American accents are quite a way down the list, just to support Dave's point.
Where was this study performed, Jamie? Was it in America?
Yeah.
We could use Gemini Deep Research to produce a report on this, put it to Google and say, we need Welsh language and we need British accents, and be able to choose from them. Because I echo your point, Dave. I've done quite a lot of those Notebook LM things. And to begin with, you don't mind, but within about 2 or 3 of them, you start to go, oh, these accents, we need to change this. And there's no option, is there, yet? But Yorkshire would be great. That'd be a proper accent, Jason.
Yeah, that'd be fab with the hey up. Let's get this podcast going. It'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? That I would love it. Fantastic. Just seeing your comment there, Olivia, as well. Yeah, Welsh, unfortunately, I was looking into this for a college in Wales, because they said, oh, Welsh always seems to get overlooked on this. And some of the languages that it was being, some of the additional languages that are coming to Google, I thought, wow, there can't be many speakers of that particular language. And when you look, even things like Swahili, and that's like 10 million speakers and whatnot, you put Welsh in, it's under 1 million. So it's one of those languages that, unfortunately, unless you can convince everybody else to start speaking Welsh, I know how important it is to the Welsh, community and Welsh education as well. But it's just, from Google's perspective, I think, because it's so small, unfortunately, it's one of those languages that keeps getting overlooked, I'm afraid.
It's totally understandable from a business perspective, but like as a college now, we are coming up against so many hurdles with tech. We want to innovate and we want to use tech, but we're just getting stopped, which is just really infuriating. Like, we have pushed through a piece of tech just that doesn't have Welsh, and seriously, we could get into so much trouble for using it, but we've just gone for it because we want it, because we know it's going to benefit the learners. But that's just really challenging, isn't it now? Which is just, we're on a mission at the moment at our college to try and say, look, we need this tech, and the Welsh is holding us back a lot. So yeah. But anyway, that's my rant.
No, I've just checked on the translate page. There is now a Welsh translation and voice.
Oh, that's cool. We have been using the Welsh Translate actually in the docs. We've been using that, and that's quite good. It's okay actually. Canva Welsh Translate is not as great as the Google, which is quite good to know.
Yeah. It'd be worth you checking how good it is, because you know,
Yeah.
Yakidar and Borodar and Archir Dinos, and that's my entire Welsh done now.
That's not too bad. Well done.
So,
Cool. Anyway.
with all the Google language stuff, don't get, there's two parts to it. There's the text bit and there's the voice bit, and they don't necessarily always arrive at the same time. I think Irish Gaelic hasn't got a voice translation yet, so they can do a text translation currently, but if they want to hear what it sounds like, then it doesn't currently do it. And that was true with Welsh. Well, it's been a long time since I checked, but now and you know, if you try it with a language you know, the microphone thing, the microphone icon is grayed out if it won't give you the voice version. But the voice version is there now on the Translate app. I don't know if it's on the mobile app. I haven't checked. But that's some progress. Any other thoughts? Any other questions? Any conundrums you want someone really clever like Dave or Ate to solve for you? Ate, you want to say something?
Yeah, sorry to chime in really quickly. Hi, everyone. Hi, Paul. We moved through the language updates pretty fast earlier, which makes sense for this audience, of course. But I really wanted to highlight the fantastic new opportunity which this new Notebook LM audio overview language expansion presents. For example, one of the added languages was Finnish, which is my native tongue. And in Finland, we've been really thrilled on how good those audio overviews are already. Those include slang terms from our language, and also like when we are thinking of a word, I don't know how to explain this any other way, sorry. When we are thinking of a word, we usually say or I know English people do say like when they are thinking about what to say next. Even those are integrated in the audio overview. Also, the quality of the audio is really well done, and the vocabulary used there is really clear, and it sounds like our state-based media had done a podcast on some topic. And now that this new language expansion came up, of course, with you guys speaking English, those don't get much update in that type. But if you are teaching another language, for example, Spanish learners, you can now make audio overviews on specific topics, maybe using specific vocabulary, and actually not only go into the internet and try to find an audio clip to use in your education, but try to create your own with Notebook LM. That's what's happening, at least in Finland. And we've been really thrilled about that.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Ate. It's really good to know. I'm presuming then it doesn't do it in an American accent. Gaz, do you want to say something?
Yeah, well, one, I'd love to know what Chad sounds like in Finnish. That'd be cool. But then just a tool that I came across yesterday that I just wanted to share with people because it's pretty cool, and I think you might really like it, Paul, as well. I don't know if you've seen it. It's called Napkin AI. Has anyone used Napkin AI at all?
Yeah.
It's a great tool. It's free. You put text in to Napkin AI, and based on your text, it generates graphics for you to put into slide decks. So if you can't think of something or you want to visualize the text that you've come up with, go into Napkin AI, copy your text in, and it will generate graphics for you. I just wanted to share it because I saw it yesterday and it was pretty cool.
Excellent. Well, I'll have a go at that. I've just put the link to it in the chat. Thanks really much for that. I'll also stick the link to the slide deck in there. I know Chris will send it out, but you got it then. Excellent. Very good. That's really interesting. Yeah. And
Sorry, Paul, I'll just drop the link into the 11 Labs, like the one that I mentioned before, which has got the different speech to text and does text to speech as well. So that might be of interest to some people.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Yeah. All these resources are, the problem is there's almost too many resources, aren't there? That's the problem. What's the Imogen AI. This is Google's image. No, it's not image. What's it called?
It is
Is it?
Imagen, Imagen, but it's built into slides now. If you've got the
Plenty of
Gemini
slides and
license.
docs and things, yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought there was a site for it. There's a beta site. Maybe it's because it's now built in. They turn the beta site off, where you can just play around with the images. Yeah, Jamie.
Just wondering if anybody's using the VO2 short movie clip Google generation tool. It creates 8-second videos for you. I've been experimenting with that quite a lot, and it's clear the direction it's going in. We'll all be pretty soon able to create quite substantial videos purely based on text prompts, which is going to open up some exciting possibilities, but I think also a lot of unintended consequences. Just wondered if anybody was using VO2. It's quite impressive.
Anyone using it? Any
I think it
hands
was
up?
only announced today, so I think it's only going to be rolling out. I think the rollout started as of yesterday. It's in.
Oh, I must have had a preview then. I must have been on some.
You're special.
I'm special. I've been using it for weeks. I didn't know it wasn't. I thought I just assumed everybody had it. Okay.
Yesterday's updates mentioned it. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it could be that it's released to business before it was released to education.
Okay. Yeah, because I've been using it for weeks. It's quite interesting. Gaz, if you've got your hand up.
Just while we're on the topic of images and stuff, there's a really cool image generator in AI Studio, Google AI Studio, where you can change your image in a conversational way. So I just got it to create an image of an oak tree in winter in a field, and it did a great image. And then I said, okay, now do it in spring. And it was the exact same image, but it changed the lighting, it changed where the sun was, and it put buds coming out. So yeah, that's in AI Studio, and that's a really good image generator.
Wow.
I think one of the potentially unintended positive consequences of all these tools we're talking about, where you have to type in text to get a desired output, as most generative AI works, is that I think from an education point of view, it's going to encourage a lot of. You can see some of the benefits potentially from a pedagogical point of view, where young people are going to have to really think about how they communicate and how they construct sentences and how they actually build what we call prompts, but you could call it sentences, how they actually construct them to get an accurate output. I think one of the unintended consequences of this world we're now in might actually, ironically, be that it helps people write more concisely, focused, and better sentences, for want of a better way of putting it. It'd be interesting just to see if that happens in future years and whether there's research that supports that argument. But because I'm thinking like with VO2, for example, to get the right kind of video output, you've got to really think about how you want to construct that video. And it's just going to, I think, create a different sort of process about how people construct sentences, and it could have some positive benefits, I think.
I think you're dead right. It's always been the case, hasn't it? As educators, we joke, don't we, that the kids don't know that there's actually more than one page of search results when they do a search. But there's such a lot of work to be done even now, after all these years, getting students and adults actually come to that, to do really good searches. And that still applies now. That applies now to AI. But the bits of training I've done, I sometimes see people use Gemini just as a glorified search engine. And it kind of works, of course it does. But actually, I think you're kind of missing the point. It does so much more than, how far away is the sun. It will do that, of course it will. But yeah, understanding how what the tool's purpose is, what it can do for you, and then how do you actually elicit a response that you actually want is a crucial thing. And we need to be teaching that to students in the same way that we need to be teaching it to our staff. Excellent. Thanks for that, Jamie. Dave?
Just going back to Gaz's point around AI Studio, I first saw that posted by Chris Goodall. I don't know if people follow him on LinkedIn. He's doing some brilliant work around AI and various AI tools. I've just dropped a link in the chat there around his AI library he's sharing. I think it's Born Education Trust he works for, but he shares so much of his AI journey. It's the best resource I've found online for sharing new thinking around AI. And yeah, really, really good person to follow on LinkedIn. I don't like LinkedIn, as in my role, it just means people try to sell things to me. So I tend not to be active on there, but his is one of the few LinkedIn feeds that I will actively be following. So I would recommend checking him out if you're not already doing so.
Good shout. We love LinkedIn because we're always trying to sell stuff to Dave.
Yeah. How's
Look,
that
it's
going for you? How's that going for you, Jamie?
terribly. I'm blocked. No, but I echo Dave's point. LinkedIn. If you connect to the right people, it can be a fantastic source of information. I am already following that chap and echo Dave's points completely.
Excellent. Any additional questions, comments from anyone? Well, I will bid you all good day. Thank you very much for coming along. Lovely to see you all. Usual pattern. Chris will send out the videos and the slide decks, but you already have the slide deck and the links if you want to take them. Okay. Thank you very much for coming along, everyone. See you soon.
Cheers, pal. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Cheers,
Toodles.
Paul. Thank you.
Good to see you around.
Cheers, Paul. Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Cheers.
Yeah, see you all.